What's that? Pop that in. I'm putting Floyd on the spot here because Aldo has in a way, but why did you decide to become part of the solution?
Well, Aldo, thank you for that opinion, and it means a lot to everybody here because you've seen as much of cycling as anybody, probably more. I guess to answer the question about why I decided to, you asked why I decided to change. I don't know that I really changed. In my mind, I had thought for a long time that I wasn't happy with the decisions that I had made, but I wasn't sure how to go about changing things. I knew that having defended myself from the beginning and having lied about never having doped, that no matter when I changed the story, no matter when I decided to tell the details about what I had done, the argument was always going to be the same. It was going to be that I shouldn't be believed now because I'm telling a different story than I was telling then. And so it took me longer than it probably should have. Some things happened in the United States, at least, that I thought made what I wanted to say more believable. What happened with baseball and the Balco investigation in the United States and the seeming change in the way the press dealt with doping in sports and the focus that was on it in the last 4 years gave a completely different context than in 2006 when I had won a tour and when I started having to deal with this subject publicly. That's not to say people wouldn't have believed it. It's just at the time I was making decisions quickly because I had to, and I made the judgment, and it probably was the wrong judgment, that I didn't think it was going to be believable if I told what I knew about cycling. And I also, having been going through that at the very time that I had to decide what to do and what to say about other people that I knew had done the same thing, I really didn't want to put anyone else through it. It was a unpleasant experience, to say the least. And to this day, I wish I didn't have to. I shouldn't say have to. I wish that there was a way to tell the truth without getting anyone else involved, because I can say firsthand, leaving me out of it or whatever anyone's opinion is about me, that there are good people in cycling that made the same decisions I made. There are people that I dislike that made the same decisions I made, but I tried to separate in my mind whether or not I like those people or whether I think they're good people or not, and the decisions they made about doping. And I hope that, well, my hope is that the big picture about what took place in cycling for the last who knows how many years comes out quicker than it looks like it's going to, so that people don't get singled out and people feel at some point free to just say, look, this is the magnitude of the problem. There isn't one person here that's to blame. And I don't say this to try to downplay my decisions in it. I did what I did because it was my decision. This isn't to try to minimize my own decisions by saying other people did it. But there are plenty of good people in cycling who made the same decisions I made, and their intention was never to cheat anybody. It was never to hurt anybody. It's just that it was so commonplace that you could rationalize in your mind that you weren't hurting anybody. And rather than become philosophical about it and try to explain why I feel the way I do and why I did what I did, I do know that if I could accomplish a goal that I have, it would be that there would be a way to change that thinking, and that there would be, and maybe it's happening now, but that there at some point would be a situation where young riders can race their bicycles and never be faced with having to make that decision, because it changes, it completely changes the experience that you dreamed about as a kid, that you set out to be part of when you dreamed of being a professional cyclist. And that was, for me, the biggest problem, not the whatever alleged health risks or the risks of getting caught or things like that. The worst part for me was that at some point bicycle racing became something that it wasn't meant to be in the first place, and it was a slow change, but over time it turned into well, I forgot why I got into it in the first place, and I finally enjoy that again now. I still enjoy racing, but I enjoy riding my bike and the people you meet and the time spent exercising and thinking just about life in general. And that part got lost somewhere along the way. And I'm hopeful that at some point there's a generation of kids that can get into cycling at a young age like I did, and have it continue to be what it was when they set out to be a professional cyclist in the first place. And so I think it's probably wishful thinking that it'll ever be perfect, but until I can sit here and a lot of other people can sit down and talk about how it came to be that way, it's going to be hard to find a solution. And so if I can be a catalyst for that, great. I don't care to take any credit for it, because part of why I'm doing what I'm doing is for my own conscience and for my own well-being, because I don't want to end up like Pantani. I don't want to end up like other people who felt trapped in the story they had to tell and didn't have a way out. And so as much as it hurts to sit and tell my mom that I lied and to tell people that I lied, it's better than the alternative.
Any comments, any questions out there? We've still got time for a few more.
Yeah, it just reminds me, there's a very great book written by Ed Smith, who's probably one of the world's leading sports journalists. He's the journalist for the Times. And I thought, have you ever read Ed's book? Well, he cites some of the great athletes of all time, and it was like you're reading from his book. He said, I want to remember what it was like, why I got into this sport in the first place. So I commend that book to you. I forget the exact title of it, but Ed Smith, you can look him up, E.D. Smith. It's a fantastic story. Yeah. And he uses the expression, I remember writing it down, he said, we have to free ourselves from the straitjacket of an over-professional mindset.
A question for Floyd. Floyd.
Name.
Luigi Berna, Italian reporter for La Gazzetta dello Sport. Floyd, Aldo explained before how is important for young riders to have an example, to know what is good in cycling and what is not good. Talking about your experience, maybe you can be an example for people since now, for the future. Are you ready to contribute in order to let things change in cycling?
Well, it's difficult for me to try to say that I would accept that position, because there are professional cyclists that race their careers that didn't do it, and who's to say who they are, and most people don't really want to tell the truth if they did. I don't know. I don't really believe I'm in a position to be that person to set an example. I just would like people to know what my experience was, and the fact that that if I could do things differently again, I would like to. I would like to go race my bicycle and enjoy it for what I enjoyed it for in the first place.